Welcome back to ASEAN Newsroom. Singapore's Minister Mentor Lee Kuan Yew met with visiting Chinese State Councillor and Defence Minister Liang Guangli in Singapore. Singapore's Minister Mentor Lee Kuan Yew met with visiting Chinese State Councillor and Defence Minister Liang Guangli in Singapore on Monday. They had frank discussions on bilateral relations and issues of common concern. Lee said that Singapore is happy to see the sound development of bilateral relations and the cooperation in fields such as trade and economy, education and culture, and that Liang's visit will help push forward the military relations between the two countries. He said going forward, Singapore is hoping for the two sides to boost their cooperation, including that in defense. Lee spoke highly of what China's achievements made in its modernization efforts through a reform and opening up to the outside, saying that China has helped drive world and regional economy. Lee reiterated that Singapore will adhere, as always, to the One China policy. Liang said China and Singapore have close relations and productive cooperation. China appreciates Singapore adhering to the One China policy and is hoping that Singapore continues to lend its support to China's reunification efforts and play an active role in the promotion of development of cross-strait ties. Liang said that China saw great potentials in the friendly cooperation between China and Singapore and that it is willing to work with Singapore to boost the bilateral friendship and defense relations. Liang is visiting Singapore at the invitation of Singapore Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister Teo Shih-hian. Separately, he also met with Teo and Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong on Monday. Singapore is the first leg of Liang's Southeast Asian tour that will also take him to Indonesia and the Philippines.
Malaysia expects to almost double the amount it spends on subsidy this year to $6.7 billion as it tries to reduce fuel and commodities costs. Malaysian Deputy Premier Muhyiddin Yassin told state media that rising global oil prices are pushing up Malaysia's subsidy bill up despite efforts to cut government spending. He said 18 billion ringgit would be spent subsidizing petrol, diesel, and cooking gas after global oil price hit a record 32-month high of $125 per barrel in April before easing below $100 this week. The government spent 10.32 billion ringgit on subsidies last year, but has allowed fuel, sugar, and the prices of other items to rise slowly, as it seeks to strike a balance between reducing its deficit and appeasing hard-pressed voters. The government had cut subsidies as part of economic reforms instituted by the Premier Najib Razak since the taking power in 2009 and aimed at creating 3.3 million jobs and pushing the countries towards the developed nation status by 2020. Najib has said he expects the economy to expand by 5 to 6% this year, despite the challenges of slower global growth and rising crude oil prices. The economy slowed to 4.8% growth in the fourth quarter of 2010, hit by falling exports, but for the whole year it posted a better than expected 7.2% expansion. Rising prices could also hurt the government's chances of an emphatic win during general election widely expected to take place within a year. In 2008, the government lost its traditional two-third parliamentary majority, partly over complaints of inflation and economic mismanagement.